Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 25th day, yes, of June 2020. Well, let me make sure my volume is up. Here it is. I've started this a couple of times. I forgot to put the file name on it. It still said Esoteric Influences, so I had to stop and do that. And then I don't know what I did. I had to stop again. I don't even know why. But anyway, we'll get going once again, so welcome. If this is your first time here, well, it's a work in progress always. So we'll shuffle a little bit, and then we'll draw 3 cards, and then maybe we'll draw some more, or maybe we won't, and then we'll draw a rune out of the Elder Futhark bag, and then we'll close out with a geomancy rune, and you can be on your way. Wow. It's been an interesting week, and my week for this video at least ends today, and I just do this 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday. So today is our last day of the week, but do stay tuned for the esoteric influences. I do that every day, so you can at least check those out, and they go up on the blog on Sundays. So I was supposed to start writing them yesterday, and I didn't, so I need to do that today. So we have a 7 energy today. Oh gosh, well, my hands are all weird this morning. Plus my deck is all bent. But we have a 7 energy today. I wanted to mention that. I talked about it in the esoteric influences, but I wanted to mention it again. Take an observer role if you have to. Just take a step back and be sure of what's really going on before you act or make decisions or what have you. Empaths do it all the time, particularly if energies get crazy and we don't really know. We're feeling out of sorts, and it's like all of a sudden you're in it and you're consumed with it, and it wasn't there before. If you have to have the presence of mind, if you're empathic, to take a step back and say, okay, is there a reason? Did my thoughts take me here? Am I upsetting myself? If I just got too much going on, doing too many things at once, what's happening that's causing this chaos within me? And if you can't give an answer to that, well, that's a clear indicator that you're picking up someone else's energy. My husband has very chaotic energy, and I pick up on that all the time. And so, there are times he has a push energy to him. I have an enveloping one. My aura draws in, his pushes or repels. And so he has this way of, if I'm sitting, and if you're empathic, see if this happens to you, and maybe you don't really know why it's happening, but it could be simply because you have a husband like mine that's doing this. He doesn't mean anything by it, but if he's irritated about something, or he's upset about something or whatever, or he's just passionate about something, and he's standing up above me. He could be 10 feet away from me, standing up, but the closer he gets to me, if I'm sitting and he's standing, he will lean in a little bit when he talks. Well, when he does that, even if he doesn't lean in, it happens, but especially if he leans in physically, I feel it hitting me like a wave, like when you open the oven door and that heat hits you. It's like that. It isn't hot, but it's overwhelming. And I'm doing this, and once he notices, because we've had discussions about it, so he understands, and he knows, and he'll realize, his eyes will get big, he'll go, oh, I'm sorry, and he'll back up, right? And he releases the pressure from me of his focus and his intention. Literally, we are balls of energy, okay? And what we do with it matters. And so if you're empathic, you didn't lose that whole source energy, non-physical type of experience when you incarnated into form. You chose to not do that. You chose to remain aware of your non-physical presence. Most people get so fixated into the body that They don't feel it anymore. Or if they do, they might not pay attention to it until later. And then it's like one of those moments of deja vu, where it's like, oh, I knew that. I knew that was going to happen. Well, yeah, you did. You did. You might not have realized it at the time, but after the fact, you did. You did know. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You did. And you're accessing the collective non-physical aspect of self because it's collective in nature. You might have your own individual energy signature within it, but believe me, it's all collective in nature, and that's why you know what you know, even if you don't realize it at the time. I almost don't even live in the regular world anymore. Things are so nutty. I've just retreated, and I just, I was like, okay, what do I know about this? I don't know. Things are crazy right now. The virus is spiking everywhere. For whatever reason, police continue to behave in ways that are dangerous to the rest of us. Even after all of this has been coming out, that the truth has been coming out, I guess somebody, was it in Chicago, I think? I don't know what they got a hold of. I don't know if they hacked. I don't know what they did or how they got a hold of it, but they got a database. And they started naming names of some of the police officers I read that were there, maybe, and their badge numbers. I don't know, people were running around getting them and then having them look them up in the database, or I don't know what they did. But the little snippet that I read, because I didn't get to see a whole article on it, was that they were reading off the names of these people and badge numbers and what they've done. All the excessive force complaints, and if there's any of that stuff, they were reading it to the crowd. I hope that was a real thing because, you don't want to hack, but at the same time, gee, this business of not knowing the complaint background of an individual officer when some of this stuff is so bad and they're still on the force or they go to work for another department somewhere else, it just carries with them. So I think that you're seeing the momentum right now to change all of that. And I think this time is so different. It's so profound. We have so had enough. It's neurological almost. The stress, what stress does to you, what it does to your neurological system, to your nervous system. This is the PTSD we are all being affected by right now is profound. And so having to look at this too, oh boy, are we ever ready to do something about it? Because we just can't take anymore, not as a country, not as a people. The chaos is too much, the fear, the worry over people not wearing masks. My husband was at a meeting last night. He and two other people were the only ones wearing masks out of, I don't even know how many people were there. My husband stayed back. He had to go to the meeting. But these people aren't wearing masks. Now, they were giving themselves plenty of room, and it was held outside. But you have to kind of speak up louder to be heard, and so you project your droplets further, right? Yeah. So this is not I don't think I'm going to let him go to those meetings anymore if it's going to be like this. It just risks everything, right? So hopefully there won't be another one for another year. I think people are behaving irresponsibly right now. And whether it's, the police doing what they're doing or people not trying to stay safe from the virus. So let's see what we can do today to try to bring all that under control and find a better balance going forward. Let's go ahead and take our first three cards. Well, we have the Eight of Swords. That's a really interesting card for today, isn't it? You can look at that a couple different ways. Either binding herself from her own thoughts that are plaguing her, just too much coming in on her, or it's the burden brought on by others and the chaos of others. She's just got to turn her back to all of it. Could have to do with deception. And she's got to find her own inner truth, maybe. And an 8 is about strength. So, you know, you can think the god Tyr and the rune Tiwaz, the spiritual warrior within. It takes courage to turn your back on what the other people are doing and to go your own way. And I think that a lot of us are doing that now, in spite of what other people are doing in our where we live. We continue to wear masks and gloves when we go out. We're going to do it for the foreseeable future. It's just a given. I've made masks. I bought masks. I finally got some. Was able to purchase some, so we have some more. But bottom line is, that's what we're going to do, irrespective of what other people do. So the 8 of Swords may be, you may be rethinking some of the things you've been doing lately, and now you're ready to do your own thing in a way that makes more sense, more aligned with everyone else. We'll see how it relates to the other cards. Well, here we have the 4 of Pentacles. We have the King, the Miser, holding on to everything, is back to the kingdom, separated fully from the kingdom. You can see that little line of demarcation right there. He's not at all concerned about the kingdom at all. He's just concerned with the money that he's holding on to. So we'll see what the 3rd card is. We might need a 4th, but I think that, I don't know. The Magician. Okay. This is what I think we're manifesting right now. This is what I think we're having to contend with. We'll start with the Magician. We'll put the Magician in the center. The first card, card 1, or anyway, it's not the actual first card. Card 1 of the Major Arcana. It's about manifestation. You see the lemniscate above his head. That indicates cycles. It's a never-ending cycle of rebirth, birth and death, regeneration, rejuvenation. You see the lilies and the roses down below and the garlands above. He's in the typical as above, so below expression, holding a scroll toward God, basically toward heaven, pointing the word of God, then infusing the earth below, or the physical expression below. You see that his work table, and you see his sword, his wand, his chalice, and his pentagram, or pentacle, on the table, representing air, fire, water, and earth. Excuse me, with the Magician actually representing spirit, or the conduit between source and form, or higher self and form. Because realistically, it's just a type of layering. You've got the creative impulse, the source energy, the central point from which all things radiate. And then from there, as it radiates outward, you have different layering. You know, you've got the angelic presence, you've got, you know, the different types of planetary type angels that create all of that. You've got, and then it basically goes down to oversouls and higher self and all of that. So it's a layering type of effect, giving us the illusion of separateness, except that we're not. It really looks that way here, but in fact we're not. But if we think in terms of manifestation, what is us as the Magician? What are we going to manifest? So let's make ourselves the Magician here. And what are we going to manifest? Are we going to be like the King, who's miserly, who doesn't care about anything other than his own concerns? Look at him, I mean, he's even stepping on the coins, stepping on the pentacles. He's holding on to it so tightly, isn't he? Because it's all about his own wealth. It's not about what takes care of the kingdom. It's all about what keeps him in power, keeps him in control, and keeps him in the money. So is that what we want to manifest, that type of service to self experience? Or do we want to turn our back to that level of chaos? Because truly it binds us. It binds us to a man that is not for us at all, that is only about himself and his own wealth and his own power. So nothing happens to him. He doesn't care what happens to the rest of us. It's like taking away the testing sites, the funding for the testing sites at the end of the month. In like, I don't know, 5 or 6 different states or something where they need it the most, we're not going to test. We're not going to fund that. Oh, they'll test, but not with this. They're not going to fund it. What's he trying to do? He doesn't care about us. Doesn't care at all. And then we're left like this. The PTSD that we're all suffering from is palpable. And now to have to deal with a virus on top of it, a pandemic, it's just too much. And when I see the Eight of Swords, it just always feels too much. It's just too much is coming in. So either you're getting in the way of your own thoughts and your own ability to make decisions because you're so blown away by what's going on that you see around you. You're watching people acting like we're not in the middle of a pandemic. So, I mean, I don't know. You have to have the strength sometimes to just turn your back to everything. Turn your back to authority because you see the castle on the hill. She's turning her back to all of it. And she's binding herself into her own thoughts, into her own higher self-alignment. Taking the leadership necessary to turn her back against to things that are just not going to ever work for her, that aren't going to keep her protected, that aren't going to keep her alive. She's even blindfolded. She's not going to look at any of it anymore. You can see the soppy, wet ground. It's red. The sand is red. From all the fire energy, from the struggle of it all. Whereas he's doing just fine, isn't he? The rest of us, we're here. Are we not? Let's do another card. The Eight of Swords may feel like a bad card or a bad influence or a negative influence, but realistically, it's what we ought to be doing right now, is turning our back to the authority, turning our back to all of the chaos that's surrounding us, and going within and knowing what we know. What are we going to manifest? Are we going to manifest a service to self perspective? One that won't wear a mask out in public around people? One that wants to keep all of the fortune for himself? What are we doing? Because it's causing everybody to do this. I'm telling you, if this is the manifestation energy, this is the cause and this is the effect. Let's take one more card and see what it has to say, how it influences this. Well, on this 7 day, we have the Seven of Swords. We're going to level the playing field. Again, another demarcation line there between the scene behind, right there, you see it? And where the guy is now, he's either infiltrated the troops, the king's troops, from the town. Maybe he's come there and he's maybe brought some food, or maybe acted as a servant or something like that. But when their backs were turned, when they were all focused on what they were doing instead of, the partying or whatever that happens, when they get ready to go to battle, they're going to have some fun. When they get back from it, they're going to celebrate, whatever. You can see that they're there. And you can see that they're in their tents as well. The tents are up. They've left their armaments outside, though, their battle plans, their strategy. And now you have somebody making off with them. He's only leaving 2 of them. So he's leaving some. So maybe they don't notice they're gone. But he has to take more, because if he doesn't, there's no way that town can deal with what's coming. So they really have to, in other words, because they don't have the same level of power that the king's men have, they can't necessarily, because they don't know what's coming. If they don't know, see, if they do, then that gives them an advantage because they can prepare. They're never going to have the kind of armaments that these people have. Never going to have any of that. But if they at least know what's coming, if they at least understand what's going on, right, then maybe they have a chance at dealing with it. And that's where we find ourselves now. You've got a portion of the country who believes one thing, and a portion of the country, a bigger portion of the country, that believes another. And as long as that's the case, we're going to be in this position of other people imposing their perceptions on us in a way that maybe we perceive as harmful, in a way that produces concern, it produces fear even. At the meeting my husband was at last night, he and 2 other people were the only people in this meeting, and I was outside and people were way apart from one another, but still, when you're way apart, you got to yell to be heard, project outward, right? Droplets hang in the air. Any one of these people without masks could be asymptomatic and spreading it to everybody in that meeting. My husband had a bandana on, but and some padding underneath it. So hopefully he'll be fine, but we don't know. So again, you have to end up contending with all of the nonsense behind you that's trying to, and we end up feeling like, and I've seen this online, people just end up feeling like, my God, what am I going to do here? I can't get sick. And yet I go out and nobody's taking precautions. You go into some of the businesses where I live, there's nobody wearing masks. None of the help is. None of them are. They don't stay apart from you. They don't, it's like they're oblivious to what's going on. So do they not believe it? Again, is it a different perception at work? What is it? See, I don't know. And that's why I think that what we have here, the clarification for the reading, is that we have to be focused on the truth, and we have to level the playing field, and we have to do things like this. We have to stand up, basically, because that's what she's doing. She's turning her back to everybody else's perceptions. Now, we can look at it as her thoughts are getting in the way of everything, and she has to shut down in order to really hear the voice of truth. That's another way of looking at it. And sure, that takes leadership skills to do that. That takes an 8 energy to be able to do that. To shut out the noise of your own thoughts and your own perceptions and think, gosh, maybe I'm thinking about this wrong. Maybe I'm seeing this wrong. That's another way of looking at this. But with the Magician card, I think it brings into the whole equation the idea of what are we going to manifest. But to do this, we've got to level the playing field with some truth. We need to understand what's really going on here and behave accordingly. If it means that, those of us that want to wear masks out and about, maybe we go back to when we were self-isolating, okay? Going out every 2 weeks or something. Choosing specific times to do it. In other words, narrowing down the choices that we're making based on what other people are doing to try to keep ourselves safe from this. because it's not done. That's clear. It's not done. So I don't know. Let's look at the rune. But I think that it's really the difference between someone's personal agenda, i.e. the king, and then all the people that support him and believe him and follow him, you know, people in the tents, we could say. Advancing his agenda that isn't helping anybody, you know, that's actually probably making people sick. So I don't know. You've got to gain more knowledge. You've got to gain more information. You've got to understand where they're coming from and what this agenda is really about. Are his people being used to further on his own stuff? Does he need people to not wear masks for some reason? Does he need people to get sick for some reason? You see, you have to ask yourself, when things make zero sense, you've got to consider the real insane aspects of it, the real sadistic aspects of it. What's really going on here? Why won't this man wear a mask out in public? Why won't this man wear a mask around people? Why will he not model the behavior that we all need to be doing? Why is he doing that? What is his end game? What is he really wanting to have happen here? Because if you're not asking yourself that, I don't think you're paying attention. I really don't. Something is amiss here. We have Thursaz. We need to break through whatever that is. The third root of the Elder Futhark, think of it as Thor's hammer. Think of it as the thorn. It breaks through opposition. It breaks through to reveal the truth. Probably relating to the seven more so than anything. It's about protection from people like this, people who oppress others. Whatever's happening in this, again, I think it aligns with the seven today, and how we need to break through whatever is going on that's causing us to want to retreat and turn our backs to authority, turn our backs to perceptions, even if they're our own, and realize that there's more to the story than what we realize. We better understand, if we're the ones following this guy, we could be being manipulated, and likely are, to advance this agenda of greed and usury of the country. We are not here for him. We are here for us. We are here for the country. We are not here for him. He does not own the country. It is not his to do with as he sees fit. And yet, that's what we have. Thursaz is drawn like this. It's like a pea. Looks like a branch with a little thorn sticking out, like more like a rose thorn, looks like. But we've got Isa and we've got Kenaz turned inward. So we have alignment and source presence. And Kenaz, the torch or the light of spirit, informing that whole breaking through process. It's a higher level purpose. We're breaking through what the effects of the ego are. Yeah. And look at the effect the ego has had on this woman. It's just been too much. Too much will. That's what the red denotes. Too much will involved here. Even though this is a card of the air element, the swords is a suit of the air element. That's intellect, reason, balance, justice. Something's amiss here. So amiss that she's got to bind herself up completely so that she doesn't see it anymore, so she doesn't experience it anymore. It's how she's choosing to embrace Thursaz in her life, so that she can break through the illusion of what's going on, and so that she can see the truth, leveling the playing field to do it. Let's take a look at the geomancy rune before we close out. At least I've got my magnifying glass here. I love this one. It's got lights on it. My husband got this for me so I could see in the dark. And he also got it for me because I like to use, oh, this is Carcer. Oh, this is perfect. This is perfect. I like to look at complicated tarot cards. My favorite deck is the Thoth Tarot. I don't use it here, but it's my favorite deck. I love that deck. What Lady Frida Harris did in painting those cards, also Heindel, oh my gosh, what he did, incredible. These are decks that you can't miss. You just can't. And so they're so complex and they're so amazing. And so if you work with them, I really recommend that you get one of these very large magnifying glasses that has the LED lights on the back, so you can really see the detail in these cards. They're just amazing. But that's why I have it anyway. He got that for me just to look at my cards. Anyway, what we have is Carcer aligning with the Eight of Swords. Carcer is about imprisonment, self-imprisonment or imprisonment by others, but typically it's self-imprisonment. But right now, when, it can be the imprisonment of deception by the king. Looks like a little cage, doesn't it? The opposite of it is conjunctio, or joining. Yeah. We're being imprisoned. We're being imprisoned by deception. We've been dealing with deception for so long, it's almost become the norm to have a president that lies continually about everything. Talks about legislation that he says he did for people when it was the last guy or the guy before. Doesn't, just lies about everything. I mean, seriously, everything he says, there's not a grain of truth to any of it. So, I don't know. When you have somebody like that and you have people that follow him and think that everything he says is gospel, that he's the second coming of Christ and all this stuff that they seem to think that he is, that he's their Messiah, how much do you give away to this guy? How much of your own sensibility, how much of your own sense of awareness as a soul are you giving away to the ego within to then give to this man? This lady's not going to do it anymore. She's not going to do that. She's had enough. She knows the deception in play. She knows what's happening. She knows the oppression that's coming from high atop the hill. I mean, we see it in the form of tear gas and flashbang grenades and pepper balls, and simply because we want to be safe from the police. Think about it. Think about the irony there. Think about the level of insult there that we're experiencing right now. And then you can understand the reason for this. We've had enough. We're going to turn our backs to the chaos, our backs to the deception brought on and reinforced by this guy. We're going to manifest a new way forward. We're going to level the playing field to do it. And to do that, what is the playing field? It's information. It's information. We're going to break through the barriers of illusion and deception by the king and his minions. And we're going to stop the self-imprisonment and the other imposed imprisonment that we've been dealing with for so long. We're going to break through this. Because this is, the geomancy rune will often tell us what is the underlying thing that's happening to us right now. Well, we're being imprisoned. We're being imprisoned by deception and illusion. And it's time to manifest something different. It's time to break through it. It's time to level that playing field and to gain the advantage. So, lots to think about over the weekend as we stay safe and protect other people as well by wearing a mask. So, Yes, I'm going to be a broken record on it, so you're just going to have to deal with it. I'm sorry. I believe wearing a mask is the spiritual warrior within, expressing itself in truth and in dignity and respect to all. So, anyway, thanks so much for watching. Come back on Monday. Check out the esoteric influences. They will come up. They're also going to go up again on the blog. I am going to write something on Medium. I do it at least once a week. That's just a piece for them. I try to do it on Wednesdays. I did not. I also am going to get the esoteric influences for the week. Again, that will go up on Sunday or Saturday night. If you want to get that as a newsletter, you can sign up for the newsletter on my website over at Stepping Aside at imsteppingaside.com. There is on the side panel, there's a sign up thing. You just put your email in. It just sends me that. And then it goes into my my newsletter software that I use. It just goes right there. And then you're just included, and those you would receive those esoteric influences in your email once a week. So if you just want to read them there, I send that out. And I guess so you can get it that way as well. But it's nice to follow along, really, especially when you get down to the human design aspect of it, because there you're going to see the cool charts that I do for them. Well, the software does them for me, but in any event, you can at least follow along on what we're talking about. And who knows, it might pique your interest, and you might want to then go and investigate and learn about this yourself. The first time I saw it, I was just entranced by it and went, oh, well, that's interesting. And the more I read about it, I just kept, buying more stuff, more learning modules. I've never taken their analyst training or anything, but I've worked through quite a few of the modules, not the more specific ones that they have in the analyst training. I haven't done any of those, but I find it fascinating that they've aligned the planetary positions with I Ching, and it's amazing. I mean, it's just amazing. So anyway. Check it out. Again, it goes up on the blog on Sundays, and it's good for a week, and then we'll go over them every day. And in any event, thanks so much for coming by. I do appreciate it. Click subscribe if you haven't, and come back on Monday. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.